Thank you. Before I start, timer, can I ask you guys all, do you all have a pen and a piece of paper? I'm going to ask you to be doing a little bit of jotting. So does everybody have a pen and a piece of paper? Great. Fabulous. All right. Keep your thoughts positive, because your thoughts become your words. Keep your words positive, because your words become your behavior. Keep your behavior positive, because your behavior becomes your habits. Keep your habits positive, because your habits become your values. And now the title of the speech, keep your values positive, because your values become your destiny. I'd like to ask you all to jot on your piece of paper. Think of a habit, write it down, a habit that you have. Could be a good one, could be a bad one. And for today, the purpose of this conversation, the definition of habit is a settled or regular tendency or practice, especially one that's hard to give up. So just something you do on a regular basis. Could be something you love, could be a habit you're trying to break. And I'm not going to ask you to share it, so it's private. I'm asking for you to think of this habit because I'd like you to have it in mind as we go through some of my speaking points. I have habits I love, I have habits I don't love so much, and for today, I'll be anchoring to a habit that I actually really want to change, and that is checking my phone when I'm driving. That's a habit I have, and it's a habit I want to change. I want to change it because the impact of, not when I'm driving, but when I'm paused, right? So just having my phone right there and just checking it in quiet moments. I want to change this habit because it's dangerous. You guys are, and I'm actually being really vocal about it and accountable and present. I'm just kind of putting it out there. I really want to change this. And so, and how this works, and I'll talk a little bit about the habit process, but how it works for me is I get to a red light, I see a red light, my mind starts to think, I'm bored, I need to check my phone. I reach into my purse, which is right there, I check my phone, and I have a read, right? And the reward that I get for that is I'm not as bored, I understand if someone's contacted me or not, right? I'm just being totally honest, that's what happened. And those three, there were 3 steps that I outlined there, I'll share those with you. With a pen that works. There was a cue, and I'm going to ask you to write this down as well. There was a cue. Red, I guess, is significant. There was a behavior, and there was a reward. So again, the cue was I was paused, I was at a red light, and my mind started to wander. My behavior was I picked up my phone, took a look at it, and the reward, I think there were 2 rewards really if I think about it. One was, well, I wasn't in an accident, this seems okay, right, honestly, and I wasn't as bored. So all habits follow this cycle. And where I'm getting this information from is a book, I'm happy to make it available to you, by Charles Duhigg, The Power of Habit. Fabulous book, completely readable. He's a New York Times best-selling author, Pulitzer Prize-winning author. So he talks about the 3 stages where we have our trigger, which could be a craving, and these triggers can come because of a set time that happens every day, or an emotional state, or a location. And as you're going through this, if you think of your own habit, I'm not going to ask you to do that right now, but if you happen to think of your own habit, what the cue, what the behavior, and what the reward is, feel free to jot that down. But if not, that's going to be an invitation for you for later to think about. But we have our cue, and then we have our behavior, that's the step we take, and then we have some kind of reward coming out of it. The easiest to change, which do you think might be the easiest to change out of all of these?
The behavior.
The behavior is the easiest to change. And so, so we'll talk about that a little bit in a minute, but the easiest to change is the behavior. But first I want to tell you a little bit about my motivation. Why am I talking about habits? You guys may know that every year I pick a word for the year. Last year I gave my word, it was believe deeper, shine brighter. It was kind of a phrase. This year my word is habits. And the reason I chose this word is because you also know that All of a sudden I had a whole bunch more free time than I did before. I worked for 27 years. It was my habit to come into the office every day, work many, many hours, have an email system, meetings I plugged into. All of a sudden I was presented with a blank canvas. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. What am I going to do with this time? You also know that I love Lean Six Sigma, and I love StrengthsFinder, and I love performance. I love a Socceroo performance. And so I really want to optimize that time. I really want to and I don't want to feel at the end of the day like something should be a should. I want it to be either ingrained, something I just kind of do automatically. I want it to be something I'm mindful about, not a control freak kind of thing, but something I'm mindful about, right? So simply I want to be intentional about how I spend my time. So I'm just going to share with you some steps, and I'm not going to have time to dive into these next steps. I'm happy to make it available after, but Charles talks about 4 ways, he cuts to the chase, how we can make improvements. Identify the routine. Experiment with rewards. Isolate the cue, and again, it could be it's a set time every day, it's an emotional state, it's a location, it's other people. And then have a plan. So today, what did I do differently? Today, I turned off my cell phone, off, when I was in a parked state, and I drove. Got to a red light, my mind said, oh my gosh, I want to check my cell phone. And then I thought about, what can I do instead? I had gratitude that I was safe in that moment. I replaced the reward with, gosh, I'm not bored, with, I'm safe, and I'm making mindful decisions. And this ties back to my values and my destiny. My nephew was in a serious car accident a couple years ago, and I've been wanting to change this habit for the last couple of years. And he did it because he actually reached for a Coke instead of his phone, but all the same thing, distraction. Keep your habits positive because your habits become your values. Keep your values positive because your values become your destiny. I want my habits to be positive. Are yours?